Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto gets almost killed and thrown to a cave. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Most people of Konohagore no Sato were having a great time. Why shouldn't they? It was 10th of October, exactly 5 years since the defeat of the terrible Kyuubi no Kitsune at the hands of the Yondaime Hokage. For that reason there was a festival to celebrate. However, there was one person who was not having a good time. In fact, what he was going through could only be considered living hell. That person was the 5-year-old Uzumaki Naruto and, ironically, today was his birthday. Little Naruto was currently running away from a mob that was trying to catch him. Probably to beat me almost to death again. I should have listened to Dog-san and Weasel-san when they told me not to go out until they've returned from whatever the old man wants them to do. As he was running, he noticed that he was getting near a forest. He started running towards it, thinking that he could lose them easier in there. Unfortunately, Naruto was unaware of 3 things. 1. That there were shinobi in the mob as well, not only civilians. 2. That the mob was herding him towards the forest on purpose. And 3. That this forest was probably the most dangerous place of Konoha, Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Meanwhile, with the mob, people were having smug smiles seeing the demon going into the forest. Now they could kill it and nobody would know what really happened. It would seem as if the demon was killed by one of the many dangers that lurked in the forest. Their plan was perfect. Back with Naruto. Naruto was trying to gain enough distance from his pursuers, so that he could hide from them. However, they were gaining on him. Very soon a kunai thrown by one of his shinobi pursuers hit his leg and, with a cry of pain, he fell to the ground. Before he knew it, he was surrounded by people, who started to hit him and cut him, calling him demon and shouting that he will pay for killing their loved ones. Please, what have I done? I'm no demon, I'm a simple kid. And I have never killed anyone. Please, stop. Naruto pleaded with them, begging them to stop. They ignored him and continued what they were doing. Pretty soon he was an unconscious bloody heap on the ground. Suddenly one of the shinobi keeping watch to make sure that they weren't found, a former Anbu who was kicked out because of his hatred for Naruto, shouted, "Shit. The Anbu guarding him are coming right this way. We have to get rid of the damn demon now." They looked around anxiously, trying to find a way to get rid of the body. One of them spotted something and shouted, "Quickly, throw it in that hole over there." One of the shinobi checked that hole. "It seems pretty deep. I wonder where it leads." "Well, no matter, the deeper the better." They threw Naruto in that hole, and then one of the shinobi used a Doden jutsu to cover it and another a Suiden jutsu to clean the blood. Not 5 seconds later, 2 Anbu appeared in the clearing. One of them had white gravity-defying hair and was wearing a dog mask, while the other had pitch black hair and was wearing a weasel mask. Both of them had katanas strapped on their backs. The first one, who seemed to be the older of the 2, spoke first, his voice promising pain. "Where is Naruto?" Someone from the mob answered. "We don't know what you're talking about, Dog-san. We simply came here to talk without all that ruckus of the festival." Dog scoffed at this. "Don't give me this bullshit. I can smell him on you, and his smell stops here. So, I'll ask one last time, before I proceed to different methods of persuasion." He was interrupted by Weasel. "Dog-senpai, I can't feel Naruto chakra anywhere. He's not here. But how?" Then the horrible truth dawned to the 2 men. They were too late. As the 2 men stood there, lost in their pain and anger, something changed in both of Weasel's eyes and in Dog's left one, although they weren't aware of it. Then both of them started releasing killing intent, ki from now on. Dog went through 3 hand seals before bracing his right hand with his left. Lighting started dancing around his hand and the sound of chirping birds filled the forest. Chidori. He lunged forward and started killing the bastards that killed Naruto, Weasel doing the same with his katana. Pretty soon everyone in the mob was killed and Weasel used a Kaiden jutsu to burn their remains. The 2 men stood silent side by side for a while, before leaving to report to the Hokage. As they left, the 2 seasoned shinobi couldn't help the tears coming from their eyes. The Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was not a very happy man. He had to abort the mission he had for Dog and Weasel because Naruto was in need of their help again. When will these fucking villagers learn? Moreover, he couldn't use his crystal ball to watch him because the civilian members of the village council requested a meeting with him to discuss some economy matters. The bastards probably were in on it. If anything happened to Naruto, Ibiki was going to have a field day with all the prisoners that he would take. He was about to use his crystal ball to check on Naruto, when he felt Dog's and Weasel's chakra approaching. The two appeared in front of him kneeling. Sarutobi was waiting for them to tell him what happened, but when the two were staying silent, he asked them impatiently, "So, what happened to Naruto? Is he alright? Did they hurt him?" Sarutobi stopped his questioning when he thought he heard sobs coming from the two shinobi in front of him. But surely that was impossible. Those two were known for being the two most emotionless people of Konoha, especially during work. That's not to say that they didn't have emotions, simply that they were very good at hiding them. Then Dog spoke, his voice broken by sobs. We were too late, Hokage-sama." Sarutobi fell back in his seat from the shock, refusing to believe his own ears. Are you sure? Maybe they hid him somewhere? Maybe he escaped?" The two men stood up and removed their masks, revealing their face. Well, Weasel did. Dog still had a face mask on covering the lower half of his face. The two men had something in common. Weasel's eyes, as well as Dog's left eye, were the red and black of the Sharingan, while Dog's other eye was an ordinary blue. "We're sure, Hokage-sama." Dog's senpai followed his scent to the forest of death, but I couldn't sense his chakra anywhere. In my story, Itachi is a censor. Live with it. I'm sorry to say, Hokage-sama, Naruto is gone. That's when Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, the man known as the Professor, thanks to his knowledge of jutsu and as the God of Shinobi, for his prowess on the battlefield, broke down and started crying. The thoughts of the three men were similar. I wonder what the Yondaime would think of the village now. He probably would be disgusted with us. We couldn't even protect an innocent child. I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm sorry, Sensei, I failed you. You, Obito, Rin, Naruto, I failed you all. I'm sorry, Minato. You left me with one simple task, and I failed to complete it. And because of my failure, Naruto paid the price. I'm so very, very sorry. After a while, Sarutobi got himself under control and looked up at the two men in front of him, who were also clearing away their tears from their eyes. Their movements brought Sarutobi's attention to their eyes, and what he saw made him gasp. "Kakashi, Itachi, your eyes," he said to them, using their real names. Dog, the newly named Kakashi, and Weasel, the newly named Itachi, looked at each other, and they too gasped. Their Sharingan has changed. Itachi's now had the shape of a curved shuriken, while Kakashi's looked like three rectangular scimitars joined together where the iris should be. Itachi then understood that he was unconsciously channeling chakra to his eyes, and he cut the flow, telling Kakashi to do the same. Their eyes returned to their normal three tomo forms. "What was that?" asked Kakashi, shocked. It was Itachi who answered, looking pale as ghost. This was the second level of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. It can only be awakened when someone kills their best friend or when they lose someone extremely close to them, which must be what happened to us. Strange thing is, this way of awakening the Mangekyo was considered nothing but a fairy tale. It has never happened before, especially to someone not belonging to the clan by blood. Okay, what differences does this Mangekyo has from the normal Sharingan? Asked Kakashi. First of all, it increases even more our precognitive abilities, as well as our resistance to genjutsu. Secondly, it unlocks three new abilities, the Amaterasu, an offensive ninjutsu whose black flames burn everything in their path and cannot be extinguished for 7 days and 7 nights. Then there is Tsukiyomi, a genjutsu of amazing potential. Lastly, there is Susanoo. This ability summons an ethereal warrior to fight for the user and protect him or her. In my clan's archives there are mentions of a rare fourth ability, known as Kamui, but there are no records on what it actually does. However, these techniques, while powerful, come with a price. Because of the strain they put on the user's eyes, they slowly make user's sight deteriorate, eventually making him or her blind. Funny thing is, according to our legends, those that obtain the Sharingan like we did, don't suffer from the side effects. Kakashi thought over this for a little while, before speaking. I don't know about you, Itachi, but I know how I'll deal with this. For me, this Mangekyo is Naruto's last gift, and I plan to use it to protect the village, like he would have wanted to. I would be grateful if you could share with me any information you find about these eyes and how they can be used. Itachi nodded his agreement and then Sarutobi spoke, both of you can go. I'm sure we all need time to grieve. The funeral will be in a week's time. Oh, Kakashi, Itachi, if you hear anyone celebrating Naruto's passing when this gets out, kill them." The other two nodded, planning to do it anyway, and left. Meanwhile, with Naruto. Naruto was lying in the darkness, bleeding from wounds that even he wouldn't survive from. Right now he would have cursed his increased healing rate if he could think. Unfortunately, he was in too much pain to do so. Naruto always healed very fast, although he never knew why that happened. He just assumed everyone healed that fast. Of course, the truth was different. The reason he healed that fast was because of the Kyuubi no Kitsune that the Yondaime had sealed in him 5 years ago, not that Naruto knew that. Unfortunately, not even Kyuubi could heal all of Naruto's current wounds. All it did was prolong his suffering and made sure that he would be conscious the whole time. But it was this that saved Naruto's life. Just as he was about to give up and let death claim him, he heard a voice speaking to his mind, "Don't give up, little one. It's not your time to die yet. Look up." Naruto did so and saw a blue glow coming from up ahead. "Come to me, little one. Don't be afraid, I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help you." Now, Naruto usually wouldn't do what a strange voice speaking to his mind told him to do, however he was wounded and couldn't think clearly. But the most deciding factor was that the voice was like Gigi's when he spoke to him, kind, warm and caring. This, coupled with the fact that the voice seemed to be female, made Naruto think of only one word, that he had very rarely thought in the past: mother. As he moved closer, he saw that he was in a room with many machines and cables that he didn't understood what they did. But the middle of the room was occupied by 2 small chambers, each big enough for one person to fit inside. One of them was closed. From the small window it had on the top was coming the same blue glow he saw before, but he wasn't tall enough to see inside. Above the window something was written, but Naruto couldn't read it since he didn't know how to read. The other chamber was open and empty. "Quickly, little one, if you want to live, enter the empty chamber. It will not only heal you, but also make you strong enough that nobody will ever hurt you again." Naruto nodded and did as he was told. Once he was inside, the door closed on its own and a blue glowing liquid began to fill the chamber. Naruto was panicked at the beginning, but soon found out that he could breathe even under it. Then he started to become sleepy. "Don't worry, little one, sleep. The process will take some years to be completed, but I'll make sure that nobody will harm you." Naruto nodded before sleepily saying 3 words that made the being talking to him very glad. "Thank you, mother." "Mother? Yes, little one, I'll be your mother. And my name is Genova." 10 years have passed since that fateful night that Naruto Uzumaki was killed, and much have changed around Konoha. The main differences being that after Naruto's death the Sandaime has revealed his true heritage, revealed him to be the only son of the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Needless to say, all those that were shouting for the boy's death were now eating their tongues. During the first few days after the announcement, there were a few people that had the nerve to go around telling that they always knew the boy was not a demon, when in truth they were amongst the first to torment and abuse him. This stopped quickly, however, when Hitaki Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi took wind of it. All that was known in Konoha about this was some nights screams could be heard and the next morning a house would be consumed by black flames that wouldn't go out for a week. Another change was that the Uchiha clan was wiped out by Itachi when he went rogue. Nobody knew why he did it. The only person left alive was his younger brother, Uchiha Sasuke. According to the few people that knew Itachi, read, Kakashi and the Hokage, this was strange, since Itachi wasn't in really good terms with his younger brother, while on the other hand he loved his mother to death. The final change was that the 2 remaining Sannin, Tsunade and Jiraiya, had returned to Konoha, where it was revealed that they were Naruto's godparents. It is said among Konoha that the 2 still didn't like getting near Kakashi, since, according to rumors, he all but attacked them when he found out. The fact that at that time Itachi was still in Konoha didn't make it any better for them. In fact, the 2 were very changed. Jiraiya hadn't peeped once since then, while Tsunade hadn't gambled once. Instead, Jiraiya was spending his time getting his spy network even better, while Tsunade had upgraded all the medical facilities of Konoha and trained their med-nins. She also made sure that all orphans of Konoha were very well taken care of. However, the people of Konoha didn't know that a maelstrom was coming to unsettle their lives once again. The gatekeepers of Konoha could see a figure approaching the gates walking slowly. As he drew closer, they were surprised at what they saw. It was a tall man, maybe 2 meters tall, with very long white hair, with some black and red in it, which reached past his waist, wearing a black trench coat with silver-white metal shoulder pads. He was also wearing black pants and a black shirt that reached from below his chest to his pants and was held in place by 2 straps forming an X over his chest. I know I suck at descriptions, so it's basically Sephiroth from Advent Children. He was reading a red book, but they didn't really notice because they were scared. Maybe it was from the way he walked, with such grace and certainty that it was obvious that he was an experienced warrior. Or maybe it was from his weapons. A red rapier with runes on its blade strapped on his right hip. A big zanbatu with 2 holes near its handle strapped on his back. And worst of all, a katana that was as long as he was tall being carried in a reverse grip with his left hand. Then, when he came close and they tried to stop him, they found out what was that terrified them the most. His eyes. They were a strange mix of green and blue and they were silted. Eyes that seemed to say, "Annoy me and you'll die." Then, before they could gather their courage to stop him and ask him about his business in Konoha, he disappeared, just like that. The Hokage was in his office, dealing with his eternal enemy known as paperwork. A dreaded being of incredible power that was the sworn enemy of all cages and was only ever defeated by the Yondaime Hokage. Damn you, Minato. How the hell did you manage to deal with the paperwork so fast? The Hokage sighed, before speaking to himself, one of these days I'm going to use a fire jutsu and be done with it. Hey, if it were me, I would have done that a long time ago. But then again, that's why you are the Hokage and not me. As soon as he heard the unknown voice, Sarutobi was on his feet, holding a kunai in his hand. He looked where the voice came from, and he saw the man from the gate, resting against the wall. Reading his book, Sarutobi saw that its title was Loveless, his long katana by his side. "Who are you? How did you get in here? Why didn't I sense you?" asked Sarutobi, alarmed that the man, whoever he was, could be so relaxed when questioned by the Hokage. Such confidence was unnerving. The man looked up from his book, an amused smirk on his face. "Which question should I answer first? I entered just now, from the window. As for why you couldn't sense me, well, can you do it now?" Sarutobi frowned. Indeed he could not, and that perplexed him. Sure, he was no sensor, but he was able to sense the chakra of a person standing in front of him, even if said person was hiding it. So why couldn't he sense anything from the man in front of him? It was as if, "You have no chakra, do you? And you didn't say who you are." The other smiled, "Correct. As for who I am, well, I guess I couldn't expect you to recognize me. After all, I have changed a lot in the past 10 years, haven't I?" "Old man?" The Hokage's eyes hardened, and for a second the Kami no Shinobi was back. "I don't know who you are, but you will pay for trying to say that you are Naruto." Then the other man started to laugh. "Why are you laughing?" The man smiled, a true happy smile, before answering, "For 2 reasons. 1, it's good to see that the man known as the Kami no Shinobi is still around. And 2nd, it's good to see how much I mean to you, old man. Unless you know someone else with this?" With that, he undid the single button holding his trench coat closed and lifted his shirt. Sarutobi's eyes almost fell from their sockets. There in the man's navel was Naruto's seal. It did look somewhat changed, since it had what looked like bright blue veins mixed with the normal black, but it was definitely the same seal. And that meant, Naruto? Naruto laughed, again and hugged Sarutobi. "Yes, old man, it's me. I'm still alive. And better than ever, I might add. But, what happened to you that night? How did your appearance change like that?" "Very good questions, old man, but before I answer them, I want to know about my family. And I want Dog-san and Weasel-san to be here for my story as well. They deserve to know." Sarutobi sighed at this. First of all, Naruto, Weasel or rather Uchiha Itachi as is his true name, is no longer in the village. He left 6 years ago, after killing for some reason his entire clan, except for his younger brother Sasuke. I will call Hitaki Kakashi, as his dog's real name, but there are 2 more people that should be here as well. Jiraiya and Tsunade of the Sannin, your godparents. Naruto's face hardened at that, and for a moment Sarutobi felt a shiver go up his spine. "My godparents, you say? And pray tell, were they during the first years of my life?" Sarutobi sighed once again, before answering. Tsunade had left because this place held way too many bad memories for her. The loss of her little brother, her fiancé and your parents, all of which died for the village, made her very bitter towards it. Jiraiya on the other hand left because of his duties. His spies are our main source of information for happenings outside the village. In fact, since the Kyuubi attack, he hadn't set a foot in Konoha till he learned of your death. Both he and Tsunade were grief-stricken. Both have changed much. They will be overjoyed to hear from you. Naruto thought for a while, before nodding in acceptance and agreement. Fine, now tell me of my family. The Sandaime looked a bit uncomfortable with this. Naruto, I'm sorry, but your father had many enemies. He left explicit orders not to tell you until you were a Jonin, so you could protect yourself. Naruto growled at this and, before Sarutobi could even blink, Naruto was behind him, his rapier at his neck, ready to take his life. I am far more powerful than any single Jonin or any single Kage for that matter Hiruzen Sarutobi, said Naruto, his voice poisonous. Moreover, the only reason I'm back in this hellhole called a village is to know about my family and because of you, Kakashi and Itachi. And Itachi is no longer here. So if you insist on not telling me, I'll leave the village and never come back. Though, not before paying back everything I owe to this village, with interest. His tone on that last part told Sarutobi beyond any doubt what he meant. Fine Naruto, I'll tell you about your family. Naruto let him go and looked at him with expectation. Your father was the greatest shinobi ever born in this village. Hell, maybe he was the best ever born in the elemental nations in general. He was the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze or, as he was known to his enemies, Konoha's Yellow Flash. He died sealing the Kyuubi no Kitsune in you 15 years ago. His last wish was for you to be treated as a hero for holding the fox back. Your mother unfortunately is dead. She was in the hospital, still weak from your birth, and she couldn't handle the fox's ki and evil chakra. We lost many people that day. Naruto contemplated all he heard, before chuckling. So, I guess that leaves me not knowing if I should thank the fox or curse it. Sarutobi was startled by this. Thank it? What for? For my father? So, you hate him? Not at all. But he died protecting those precious to him and doing his duty. His last wish was for the people he died for to take care of his son. He died with his honor and dreams intact. He died a true hero. How many can say the same? If the fox hadn't attacked, he would probably have died from old age, most of his strength long gone. I don't know about you, but I know which death I want. Sarutobi was perplexed by this logic, but decided to let it go. Naruto, tell me, how do you know about the fox? What are those blue streaks on the seal? Are you not worried that it will try to get free? No, old man, I don't. The fox is chained, and these chains cannot be broken. Details will have to wait till you hear my story. Although I can't claim it's me keeping it chained. He thought, remembering what happened 10 years ago. Flashback begins. The fox was resting in its cage, trying to find a way to escape this damn seal, when a blue wave of energy suddenly crashed on it and started forming chains around it. The fox was surprised by this. What the hell? Mako? How did this appear here? Then he heard the voice speaking in Naruto's mind, and my name is Genova. Hearing this, the fox started to shake in fear. It can't be her. She can't still exist. Then Genova spoke to it, Kyuubi, sealed within a mortal boy. How the mighty have fallen, But don't worry, this boy will soon become more than a worthy enough container. I'll make sure of that. Genova, the calamity, what do you want with the boy? And what will happen to me? The fox's fear was evident in its voice. What I want with him? Why, I want what is best for him, like any good mother would. As for what will happen to you, well, you won't be destroyed, if that's what worries you. While you are here, Naruto will still be able to use your chakra, since the Mako will destroy his chakra coils. That's the reason for the chains. But don't worry, you'll have company in here. Kyuubi then felt several cells enter the boy's body and almost immediately start to work to change him from the inside out. Then the fox felt who those cells belonged to and it became even more afraid, if that was possible. They're coming, said Genova. Just then, a figure appeared out of nowhere. He looked just like Naruto would in a few years, with the exception that his hair was completely white, and that his eyes and aura said that he was far more dangerous. He had a smug smile on his face. Has any of you ever seen Sephiroth with another expression? He looked around him, but before he could comment, another person appeared. The first word that would come to someone's mind when he would see this man would be the word red. He had short red hair, was wearing a red trench cloak, and red clothes in general. Everything about him was red. He was a little shorter than the silver-haired man, although the way he held himself said that he was an experienced warrior. They looked at each other. "Genesis," said the silver-haired one. "Sephiroth," said the red one. Before anything more could be said, a third person appeared. He had black hair reaching his shoulders, was wearing a strange uniform, and his height was between that of the other two. The other two looked at him and together said, "Angel?" Then Genova spoke, "Well, look at that. All three of my sons gathered together. Isn't it a happy little reunion?" Genesis opened his mouth to say something, but Sephiroth beat him to it. "Genesis, if you quote that damn book again, I'll rip your tongue off. And you know I can do it. Anyway, tell me, mother, why did you add cells of us all in this boy? Do you want us to fight to see who will take this new body?" "No, Sephiroth, I do not. There will be no fighting here, unless it's for training or passing the time. There will be no killing each other. And no one will take Naruto's body. That's why I added cells of all three of you, so that they will fight one another. I admit that his outer appearance will be almost identical to Sephiroth's, since his cells are stronger than yours. However, this way, Naruto will keep his identity and it won't get lost by one of yours. Plus, he will get some, if not all, of your abilities. What I want from the three of you is to train him, teach him how to use both sword and magic. Also, I want you, Angel, to teach him how to think and feel and act with honor. You, Sephiroth, to teach how to be colder than ice when he has to. And lastly, you, Genesis, to teach him how to have dreams and hold on to them. Lastly, I want the three of you to make sure that the fur ball over there stays chained no matter what. Can you do these things for me?" All three men nodded, interested in the idea of having someone they could teach, someone they could pass on their legacy. Unknown to the other four beings present, Sephiroth was having some thoughts of his own. Interesting, perhaps if I train this boy, combined with the training he will receive from Genesis and Angel, yes, he could be the one. Genova then spoke once more. "Well, I guess it's time I introduce you to your younger brother. After all, he has been watching us from the beginning." The three men looked surprised at the young boy that seemed to appear out of nowhere. "How the hell did this happen?" asked Genesis. To be able to hide from the three of them just wasn't possible. Simple. 1. This is his mind, so he can do almost everything in here. 2nd, because I hid him from you. She then turned to Naruto. "What do you say, Naruto? Do you want to be trained from your brothers?" Naruto nodded enthusiastically. "I would love to, mother." The other three men lifted their eyebrows at that. They were about to comment when Naruto yawned. "Go to sleep, son, you need it. Don't worry, you will get the chance to speak and train with your brothers soon enough." Flashback end. Naruto shook his head and got out of his memories, before speaking to Sarutobi. "Alright, old man, let's get this over with. Call them here." Sarutobi nodded and went to the door to order his secretary to summon the three shinobi. He opened the door, and was tackled to the ground by the two gatekeepers that were about to barge in. The next second they were thrown backwards by a pissed-off Hokage. "What the hell got into you?" The two guards answered, trembling in fear. We are sorry, Hokage-sama, but we come to inform you that about half an hour ago a tall silver-haired man carrying 3 swords entered the village without permission. We can't find him anywhere." Then they spotted Naruto and they started to tremble again. "Hokage-sama, we are sorry, we didn't know you knew this man." Sarutobi waved their concern aside. "Don't worry about it, you couldn't know about it. Now you can go. On your way out, tell my secretary that I want all the civilian members of the council assembled at the council chambers in half an hour. They are to stay there until my business here is done. Anyone who leaves will have the pleasure of making sure that Ibiki won't be lonely tonight. After that, tell her that I want all shinobi members of the council assembled at the council chambers in 1 hour and 30 minutes. Lastly, tell her that I want Tsunade, Kakashi and Jiraiya in my office in 5 minutes flat. Oh, and make sure to tell her to inform Kakashi that if he is late even for 10 seconds, there will be very dire consequences." The two nodded and were about to leave, when Naruto stopped them. "I want the two of you to do something for me as well. In 1.5 hours, when all members of the council are assembled, I want you to go around Konoha and spread the word. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is back." 5 minutes later, Kakashi, Tsunade and Jiraiya walked in the Hokage's office, wondering what happened, and he wanted to meet all three of them. They entered his office and found him talking with a tall white-haired man. Jiraiya was the first to spoke. "What happened, sensei? Why did you call us? And who is this man?" Said man turned and looked at them, smiling warmly to Kakashi and coldly to Tsunade and Jiraiya. Then, without saying a word, he lifted his shirt again, showing them the seal. While Naruto was pretty pissed off with his so-called godparents, he would be the first to admit that their reactions were hilarious. Their eyes have almost fallen from their sockets and their jaws have reached the ground. Finally, Kakashi managed to stutter, "Na Naruto?" 85 minutes later, Naruto was waiting outside the council chamber, waiting for Sarutobi to call him in. He smiled evilly, thinking about the fun he was about to have, if he managed to hold himself back and not start killing. "Sometimes I wonder if I have spent too much time with those three, nah." Then he heard Sarutobi, "Come on in." Naruto smirked and spoke to himself. Let the shitstorm commence. The members of the council jumped up in surprise as the doors were thrown open, literally. Some of them had to duck to avoid them. Then they looked upwards and they saw Naruto coming in, his swords in full view. He walked to the middle of the room and stood there, studying the council and muttering to himself. Some useless and unimportant civilians. Why the hell they are part of the ruling council of a shinobi village I'll never know. The clan heads nodded at this, having wondered the same thing themselves numerous times. What's next? 3 old relics. The 2 must be the old man's teammates and the other that bastard Danzo. Now we have the shinobi members of the council, the heads of all clans of Konoha. The first one is a lazy-looking man with the eyes of a genius, a Nara shadow user. The next one is blonde, obviously a Yamanaka mindwalker. They are the only blonde clan in Konoha since the Yondaime's death. The next one is Air, chubby man, and Akamichi. Black sunglasses inside a room, heavy jacket, a completely stoic and expressionless face, an Aburame bug user. This one looks like he has a stick up his ass. Q chuckles from every other shinobi in the room. Either a Hyuga or an Uchiha, and since all the Uchihas are dead. And last but in no way, shape or form least, fang-like marks, a feral look, and a dog companion. An Inuzuka, though I wonder. Meanwhile, the clan heads were observing Naruto themselves. Troublesome, who else? Shikaku Nara. Who is this guy? I have a bad feeling about him. Thought Inoichi Yamanaka. At least he didn't call me fat. Thought the Akamichi, while munching some chips. Why are my bugs so afraid of him? Plus he looked each one of us once and he could tell who we are. He is either very smart or very well informed. Probably both, thought the ever-stoic Aburame while noting to himself to remember to threaten the people in the room to make sure that they would never mention to anyone that he chuckled. How dare this lowly commoner make fun of the Hyuga clan? We are the strongest clan in Konoha. Everyone else is below us, ranted Hiyashi Hyuga in his mind. WOW. I have met a lot of people, but this one is the alpha of all alphas. I'm 38 and I'm still affected by him. Oh shit. If Hannah meets him unprepared, she will probably jump him in the middle of the street. I have to warn her, provided I can keep myself in check and not jump him right here. Thought Sume Inuzuka. Then she heard the last part of Naruto's sentence. And what are you wondering about? Naruto smiled and winked at her, before answering, whether or not I should keep in mind as a trait of your clan that the women are smoking hot. All the other shinobi looked at him as if he had grown a second head, and then as if they were watching his funeral. The last person who talked to Sume like that was put in the hospital for 2 months and could never be shinobi again. Imagine their surprise when Sume not only didn't get violent, but she sported a small blush. Luckily for Sume though, before anyone could comment, the civilians in the room decided to get out of their stupor, and one of them screeched, "Just who do you think you are?" After Naruto regained his hearing, he glared at her. "Shut up, you pink-haired hybrid of a monkey and a banshee. As for who I am," he stopped and smirked, while everyone listened intently. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." All hell broke loose. If someone was to enter the council chamber right now, he would be surprised by the chaos that reigned inside. This was the outcome of Naruto stating who he was. As a result, every single person in the room was shouting, calling him a liar. The civilians because they didn't want him back, still believing that he was a demon. The shinobi because they considered it an insult to Naruto's memory, since he, admittedly, didn't look anything like his former self or his parents, and Danzo because it would be easier to turn him into a weapon if he was a nameless someone, instead of the Yondaime's son. This went on until Sarutobi decided he had enough. Everybody shut up right now. You are acting like spoiled children, not counselors. Everybody immediately did so. Past his prime or not, the Hokage was still someone you should avoid pissing off. Shikaku Nara spoke then. Isn't there a way to prove this claim either right or wrong? A blood test perhaps? Naruto shook his head. No, as I said already to Sarutobi, what happened that made me like this completely changed my DNA. I have nothing in common with my parents, in the physical sense at least. The way I am now, even a blood seal made for my family would reject my blood. The Aburame clan head, Shibi, not sure about this, spoke next. It sounds logical. After all, it's impossible to change at such a level and your DNA remain the same, isn't it? He paused and looked questioningly at Tsunade, who nodded, then continued. Perhaps you would allow Yamanaka-san to look into your mind and confirm your claim? Naruto shook his head again. No, I won't for many reasons. 1. I don't want anyone crawling around my head. 2. It should be impossible for him to enter my mind anyway. And 3rd, even if he succeeds in entering my mind, it wouldn't be safe for him. There are things in my mind that don't like visitors. I'm sure all of you know what I'm talking about. At least partially, he completed in his head. Everybody in the room looked at him surprised. Could he know about the Kyuubi? That was when Sume palmed her face, frustrated with her own stupidity. Why didn't I think of this before? If you really are Naruto, why don't you show us the seal? Naruto smiled at this. Finally someone smart enough to think of the simplest and most reliable test of all. Okay, here it is. With that, he unbuttoned his coat and lifted his shirt. And before you say anything, I have checked it myself. It's the real thing, and it's actually stronger than ever, said Jiraiya. Everybody was shocked into silence. Now they had no choice but to admit it. Naruto was back, and obviously he was better than ever. That was when a member of the civilian council, a fat and short man, made the stupidest mistake of his life. We have to kill him, he is a demon. We should. It was also his last mistake. Before he could finish, Naruto appeared behind him, and drove his long katana right through him. He then reappeared back in his previous position and flicked his sword to get the blood out. Nobody but the Hokage saw each drop of blood go at the mask of a different Anbu hidden around the room. A damn clear message if there ever was one. Naruto then turned to the other members of the council, who were shocked into silence. From what Sarutobi told me, his law is still in effect. Refer to me as demon, and I've every right to kill you. Everyone in the room gulped and nodded. Danzo chose this moment to speak. The boy should be given to me to train him so that he can be a weapon of Konoha. Everybody expected Naruto to get pissed off and kill Danzo as well, but his reaction surprised them again. He laughed. A weapon of Konoha? Sorry, Danzo, but I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. I can't even use chakra. He paused for a second. Well, that's not entirely true. I can use the furball's chakra, but I don't like doing so. It makes me feel filthy. I always need a bath afterwards. And by the way, Danzo, aren't you bored of trying to make me your weapon? Sarutobi told me you always tried to do so since the first years of my life, but he always stopped you. At least he managed to do something right. He said the last part, sending Sarutobi a look full of disappointment. Remember who you are talking about, you damn brat, said a nameless civilian. Naruto looked at him and growled. Maybe I will when he remembers who he is himself. He turned to Sarutobi. I saw it in the office, before you believed who I was. You are not dead yet, old man. Naruto's words, combined with the look full of disappointment he sent him before, made a change happen in Sarutobi. He sat straighter in his chair and his kind face hardened, becoming the face of a war-hardened shinobi. The shinobi in the room suddenly felt like cheering, while the civilians and Danzo like pissing themselves. The Kami no Shinobi was finally back. Naruto nodded, glad with the outcome of his words, and then turned towards a seemingly empty spot on the wall. Would you mind doing me a favor, Anbu-san? Everyone in the room was shocked that he could spot them. Really, they should be used by now. Sarutobi nodded, giving his permission, and an Anbu wearing a lion mask appeared in front of Naruto. What can I do for you, Namikaze-san? Go around Konoha and let all the shinobi know that their Hokage is back. I think they deserve to know. The Anbu nodded and disappeared, more than happy to comply. It was something all the shinobi in the village were waiting to happen for 15 years. Yamanaka Inoichi spoke. Do you plan to become a shinobi, Namikaze-san? And if so, how do you plan on doing it without chakra? Naruto smiled. Yes, I do want to become a shinobi. As for chakra, I don't need it. Everyone was surprised by this. Didn't need chakra? The pink-haired banshee from before decided to speak or rather screech once again. If you don't have chakra, then you can't be a shinobi. Naruto smirked. Why don't we decide this in a simpler way? What do you mean, Naruto? Asked Sarutobi. Simple. I will face in combat all the clan heads and your best jonin in combat, and if I win, I will become a shinobi. And to be clear, I mean fighting all of them at the same time. All the civilians laughed at this, believing that he was crazy. The shinobi, however, were studying him carefully. He didn't seem anxious at all, as if fighting the best shinobi of Konoha was a walk in the park. Moreover, while before he said, if I win, they were pretty sure that what he meant was, when I win. Such confidence was indeed unnerving and could not be taken simply for arrogance. And what will happen if you lose? Asked Danzo. Naruto turned to him, and said something that made everyone in the room check their ears. If I lose, Danzo, I will willingly become your little weapon. Sarutobi, Jiraiya and Tsunade wanted to disagree, but the look he sent them clearly told them to shut up. One by one all the members of the council agreed to this. Sarutobi sighed and spoke. Very well. We will all meet at 1 hour at Training Ground 10. There we will watch Naruto Namikaze fight for the right to be a shinobi of Konoha. Naruto, do you mind waiting outside while we decide which shinobi you will face? Nope, but I have a request. I want Jiraiya and Tsunade to be among them. The two looked at him in surprise. Why is that, brat? Asked Jiraiya. Naruto smirked evilly at them and turned to leave, saying above his shoulder, because payback is a bitch. Is that supposed to be an insult, brat? Called Tsume to him. Naruto turned around to her, smiling. Quite the contrary, it was a compliment, Inuzuka-chan. And then he disappeared. Tsume smirked. So, the brat wanted to play, Fine then, if that's how he wanted to play. She then saw everyone in the room looking at her. She sent them back a glare that said, comment and die. Everybody quickly looked elsewhere. 1 hour later, Training Ground 10 was the biggest training ground Konoha had. It had every different type of terrain available in Konoha. It was a valley between a forest and a mountain, thus having forest areas, rocky areas and areas with plain grass for training. In addition, it had a river coming down from the mountain and going through the valley and into the forest. It was there that every Konoha shinobi ranked Chunin and up had gathered to watch the testing of Naruto Namikaze. Truth be told, most of them were expecting he would lose in 5 seconds. Not even the Hokage could go against the best jonin of Konoha and 2 of the Sannin and win. Naruto was standing in the middle of the valley, looking at his opponents. Before we begin, I would like to know the names of my opponents. He called out to them. They nodded and began to introduce themselves. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. Naruto smiled at Kakashi. He was wearing a normal jonin jacket and was wearing his headband so that it would cover his left eye, as well as his ever-present face mask. Yosh, my name is Maeda Guy, Konoha's youthful. Thankfully, his rant was stopped by a slap on the head from the person next to him. He was wearing an awful green spandex suit, had a bowl haircut and the biggest eyebrows Naruto had ever seen. Naruto shivered and turned to next person, the one who stopped Guy. It was a woman. And boy, what a woman. She had purple hair tied like a pineapple, was wearing an open trench coat and beneath only a mesh shirt and a very short skirt. With one word, hey, Gaki, my name is Anko Mitarashi. If Anko was, the woman next to her could only be called beautiful. She had raven black hair, going a little under her shoulders, and was wearing a strange dress, which looked as if it was simply pieces of cloth wrapped around her. Her most entrancing feature, however, was her eyes, a vibrant red. Hello, my name is Kurenai Yuhi. Next to her was a sickly-looking man, dressed on standard jonin uniform, the only difference being that he had a katana strapped on his back. When he spoke, his speech was interrupted by coughing fits. My name is Giko Hayate. Next was a woman dressed in Enbu armor. She had long straight purple hair. She too had a katana on her back, but she seemed more experienced with it. I'm Yugo Azuki, nice to meet you. Next was the Yamanaka clan head, standing closely to the Akamichi and Nara clan heads, too closely. Ah, how could I forget? The famous Ino Shika Cho combo. This will be fun. The Yamanaka and Nara clan heads looked just like they did at the council, but the Akamichi was wearing a red scale armor and carrying a staff. Hello, we are Inoichi Yamanaka, Choja Akamichi, not sure about that either, and Shikaku Nara. They introduced themselves. Next in line was the Hyuga clan head. I am Hiyashi Hyuga, the strongest shinobi in the village after the Hokage. Naruto rolled his eyes and called out to him, "Hey, Hyuga, how the hell did you manage, inside a single hour, to move from having a simple stick up your ass to having an entire tree? What's next, a forest?" Everybody laughed again, well, everybody except the Hyugas, that is. Naruto ignored the now fuming Hiyashi and moved to the next person, the Aburame clan head, Shibi Aburame. Next to him were Jiraiya and Tsunade. He ignored them, knowing who they are already, but his attention was captured by a young woman standing with them. She was wearing a standard Jonin jacket over a long-sleeved shirt. She had short black hair and a kind face. "Hi. I'm Shizune, Tsunade-sama's aide," she said. Next to them was a man in normal Jonin attire. He had brown hair, smoking a cigarette and holding two trench knives. "Hello Naruto. I'm Asuma Sarutobi, the Hokage's son. Thanks for reminding my father who he is." Naruto nodded. Finally, the last two was the Inuzuka matriarch and a young woman that looked a lot like her. They had the same clan tattoos and their hair was the same shade of brown, but while Sume's hair was short and wild, the other woman's was long and straight, caught in a ponytail with two strands by her eyes. Next to the matriarch was a big black half-wolf, half-dog with an eye patch, and next to the other woman three smaller gray dogs. "Hey, brat, missed me? I'm Sume Inuzuka and this is my daughter, Hana. My partner is Kuromaru, and Hana's are the Haimaru triplets." Naruto laughed and called back to her with a playful smirk on his face. "Yep. It's definitely a clan trait." Hana looked at her mother questioningly and she whispered to her what happened at the council meeting. Naruto then spoke to all his opponents. "Very well, then let me introduce myself. Why are those two drooling?" Everybody looked where he was looking and sweat dropped. Hayate and Yugo were indeed looking at Naruto's swords and drooling. "Sorry Naruto, it's just that they have a thing for swords," said Kakashi. Naruto laughed. "Ah, where are my manners? Let me introduce you." He drew his red rapier with his right hand and extended it. "This is Flamage." The sword was covered by fire and disappeared. Then he drew the big Zanbatsu from his back. "This is Buster Blade." Then he threw it towards the people watching, and it impaled itself next to the Hokage. "Old man, anyone who touches my sword is a dead man," warned Naruto. Then he brought his right hand to the hilt of the long katana he still held with his left hand, and he moved as if slashing someone in front of him, bringing the sword to his right side. To his opponent's surprise, they felt a gust of wind hit them. This is the strongest sword ever made, a sword capable of cleaving even a mountain in two, Masamune. Then the sword was enveloped in a black-looking water and disappeared as well. "As for me, I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Now let's begin." Naruto, don't you think you will need your swords?" asked Kakashi. The reply he got was simple. "No, I don't. Now, show me what you've got." The two opposing sides observed each other for a while, before Guy disappeared with pure speed. Everybody expected to see Naruto getting hit. However, when Guy appeared in front of Naruto ready to punch him, he simply lifted his left hand and caught the fist. Naruto looked at the ground with a frown. Then he flicked his wrist and threw Guy to a tree. He got up and went back to his place. All the Jonin looked at Naruto, now knowing not to take him lightly. Just as they were to charge him, however, they heard him speak. "I asked to show me what you've got. Meaning, all your strength and ability. And this is what I get? If you disrespect my wish like that again, if you don't come at me with everything you got and with the intent to kill," he paused and lifted his head to look at them. His eyes stopped them dead in their tracks. They were the cold eyes of a person that could kill someone without the slightest hint of remorse. "I'll kill you all." The Jonin gulped. Kakashi moved his headband to reveal his Sharingan, which changed to its Mangekyo form. Guy removed his weights. Hayate and Yugo drew their katanas. Sume and Hana gave some pills to their companions and took them themselves. Soon there were 2 feral-looking Sums and 4 feral-looking Hanas. Shibi was surrounded by his bugs. Hiyoshi's Byakugan activated. Inoichi, Shikaku and Choja got ready to use their combination attacks. Asuma put his trench knives on his hands and they were enveloped in wind chakra. Anko and Kurenai drew kunais. Tsunade and Shizune formed chakra scalpels. Jiraiya formed a Rasengan. The Jonin moved to surround Naruto, each having thoughts of her own. Why do I get the feeling that if I hold back I'll never get to read my Icha again? Thought Kakashi. He is strong and fast. I moved with the full speed I have with my weights on and punched with all my strength, and he stopped me as if it was nothing. And I get the feeling he was holding back. Thought an unusually serious guy. Hayate thought, damn, I wanted to face him in a sword fight. Bring back your swords. Yugo's thoughts were somewhat similar. While I would like to face him in a kenjutsu combat, I know when I'm outclassed. He would make mincemeat out of me. Man, this brat needs to cool down a bit. But he sure knows how to pass his point across. Thought Sume. Now I see what mother meant. He truly is an alpha. Makes me want to, no. Bad thoughts Hana, bad thoughts, at least while a fight is on. Thought Hana. Their dog companions all thought the same thing. Please, oh great god of dogs. Let them not go into heat now of all times. If he has no chakra, then my bugs are useless against him, except perhaps for annoying him and drawing his attention. Thought Shibi. I will teach this lowly commoner why the Hyugas are Konoha's strongest clan. He will pay for my humiliation. Ranted Hiyoshi in his mind. Inoichi, Shikaku and Choja, having fought side by side for years, all thought the same thing. If Shikaku doesn't come up with something, we're screwed. Inoichi can't really do anything in this fight. You have changed a lot from what my father described you. What happened to you out there? Good thing he likes my father though. Makes it less likely that I'll get a serious injury. Thought Asuma. Anko licked her lips. It will be fan-breaking this guy. And perhaps he would be useful for some other fun things as well. Kurenai was pissed off, such arrogance. I bet he believes that women are weak too. I'll teach him a lesson. He is good looking though. I hope Anko can keep her mind out of the gutter for once. Why do I get the feeling that I'm going to seriously regret not being here for him when he was younger? Thought Tsunade and Jiraiya simultaneously. Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama are so screwed. Well, they did earn it. Thought Shizune. Naruto smiled, his coldness gone. Yes, this is it. Now, show me what you've really got. There was silence for a while, a moment of peace during which nobody moved. The audience held their breaths. And then the fight truly began. Kakashi came right at him, his Sharingan spinning wildly, and engaged Naruto with taijutsu, believing his Sharingan would give him the advantage. However, to his surprise, his blows were dodged with ease, while he was hard-pressed to dodge Naruto's blows. Asuma came to help Kakashi, trying to slash Naruto from behind. Naruto jumped to the side, avoiding the attack, only to find himself in the path of several senbon thrown to him by Shizune coming to his face and a kunai thrown by Anko coming at his back. Kage kunai no jutsu. Make that 40 kunai. Naruto jumped up, avoiding the projectiles, and immediately Guy jumped up to punch him. Naruto avoided the attack, caught Guy's arm, and threw him with incredible speed towards Kakashi who was going through hand seals, thus preventing him from completing his jutsu. Naruto landed on the ground and caught a kunai coming at his face, again thrown from Anko. He twirled it and threw it back much faster, but Anko managed to dodge it. At least barely. He ducked, avoiding a slash at the head from Hayate's katana form behind and kicked him in the gut, sending him 20 meters backwards. He then found himself facing Hiyoshi. You are in range of my divination. 128 palms. Hiyoshi proceeded to send a barrage of strikes at Naruto with increasing speed. When the last strike was given, Hiyoshi started to tremble. Every last one of his blows was dodged. Naruto smirked and hit Hiyoshi on the chest with his open palm, sending him to crash through a tree. The next second he found himself inside a cloud of bugs that prevented him from seeing anything. Naruto shook his head and sent them a burst of concentrated Ki that made them fly away from him. Just in time, as he saw a shadow moving towards his legs. He jumped backwards, caught one of the senbon thrown to him before, and threw it with tremendous speed to Shikaku. Seeing that it was headed straight between his eyes, Shikaku was forced to abandon his jutsu and dodge. Naruto sensed someone behind him and turned, just in time to block Tsunade's punch. She looked at him with wide eyes. Nobody could block her punches. Naruto took advantage of her surprise and started hitting her with a flurry of punches, the last one sending her through not one, but 3 trees. He immediately ducked again, dodging a Rasengan from Jiraiya, did a leg sweep that Jiraiya didn't manage to avoid, and then kicked him through a set of trees of his own. It seemed that Payback was indeed a bitch. He turned around and saw Anko and Kakashi finish going through hand seals. With a simultaneous, Kaden, Grand Fireball no Jutsu, 2 fireballs twice the size of a man hit him. Everybody believed that the fight had ended then, but to their surprise, when the flames died, Naruto could be seen still completely unharmed, not even his clothes have been damaged. "I'm sorry to say, but you will need something more than fire to beat me," said Naruto with a smug smile on his face. "Then how about this?" said a voice from his right. Suddenly, Naruto's view changed, and he was seeing something completely different. He lifted an eyebrow at that something. His right hand shot up and caught something heading towards his face. The genjutsu faded, dispelled by the pain of his hand when he caught the kunai thrown to him by the edge. He looked towards the direction it came from. It was kunai. Naruto lifted an eyebrow again. "Kunai, wasn't it? I take it this genjutsu was yours?" Kunai replied with wide eyes. "Yes, but how the hell did you caught the kunai when you were in the genjutsu?" Naruto laughed. "It's simple, really. My instincts and my reflexes are trained to perfection. I can stop such attacks even in my sleep. Truth be told, I shouldn't even have been wounded, I should have caught it by the handle, but the theme of that genjutsu was disturbing. So much so, that it leads me to believe that either you are not as serious as you seem or that I have done something to you. Which I can't see how is possible, since I've just met you." Hearing this, Anko, Hana and Yugo palmed their faces. "Hey, Nai-chan, you didn't use that genjutsu did you?" asked Anko. Kurenai looked a little ashamed, but she replied nonetheless, "So what if I did? His arrogance pissed me off, and in my experience, arrogant people also believe that women are weak. So, I decided to give him a lesson." Naruto's eyes shined dangerously at this, and he disappeared, appearing behind Kurenai, holding her own kunai at her throat, his other hand holding hers, so that she couldn't use any jutsu. He spoke to her, his breath tickling her ear. "First of all, Kurenai-san, it's not arrogance if I can back up my claims. Although you are partially right. I didn't expect that there would be anyone that could bind me in a genjutsu, but you obviously proved me wrong, did you not? You are very talented." Kurenai tried her best not to blush at the praise. "As for the second part of your accusation, let me tell you that the strongest being I know is a woman. So, anything to say about that?" Kurenai looked more ashamed than before. If he was telling the truth, she really shouldn't have used that genjutsu. It was brutal. Then she heard Naruto speak again. "I'm sorry, Kurenai-san, but seeing what just happened, I'm afraid I have to get you out of this fight." Kurenai felt him tap the base of her skull, and her world went black. Naruto caught Kurenai bridal style, and appeared next to Sarutobi. "Wake her up so she can see the rest of the fight, but don't let her join again until I say so," he told him, while setting Kurenai down gently. He reappeared back where he was, and Kakashi spoke to him. What was that genjutsu anyway? It was Anko who answered. It was Kurenai-chan's favorite anti-pervert jutsu, the yaoi genjutsu. Every male in the vicinity except Naruto shivered. "Now, since you actually managed to scratch me, I think it's time to step things up a bit," said Naruto, and with a flicker of fire, flamage appeared in his right hand. Everyone backed off. Seeing the sword, Kakashi decided it was time to bring out the big guns. He went through 3 hand seals, and lighting chakra enveloped his right arm. Naruto looked uninterested, while the rest of Shinobi looked shocked that he would use an assassination technique. "Is this your Chidori that I remember you using when I was young?" asked Naruto. While Kakashi was surprised he remembered, he answered, "In a way, this is the upgraded version." Reikuri, he launched himself towards Naruto with incredible speed. Naruto didn't move. Within a second, Kakashi was upon him and thrust his lightning-encased arm forward, aiming for a non-fatal point. Kakashi's arm reached Naruto, and passed straight through him, not touching anything. Kakashi, not being able to stop thanks to his built-up speed, stumbled forward and felt a tap at a point of his neck that he knew would paralyze him for a minute or so. He looked back as he fell and saw Naruto was standing exactly where he was before he began his attack. How, he managed to stutter. Naruto looked down to him. Simple. Just before your attack hit, I moved out of the way so fast, that all you saw and hit was an afterimage. Then, after you passed through, I moved back here and hit you. Everybody watching was in shock. Not only his movement was so fast that even trained eyes couldn't follow it, but even Kakashi's Sharingan couldn't keep up with him. Two more people moved forward to challenge him, hoping to give Kakashi time to recover and the others to come up with a plan. They were Yugo and Hayate, with their katanas drawn. Remember Hayate, we can't defeat him, even together. So don't get cocky, fight defensively, warned Yugo. I'll admit that he is good, Yugo, but we are Konoha's best sword fighters. You don't really believe that he could beat both of us in a straight sword fight? Naruto snorted. You have better listen to her, kid. I could easily beat 20 of you. Hayate glared at him. I'm older than you. He growled. No, in the way of the sword you are not. Hayate was growing angry by now. I've been trained with swords since I was 7. Naruto snorted again. And I've been trained since I was 6. But even if you've been trained since you were born, it wouldn't matter. You have been trained by mere humans. I've been trained by the original wielders of my swords, a despaired angel, a deluded hero and an enraged nightmare. If you still believe that you stand a chance against me, then come, and I'll show you the difference in our levels. Hayate really wanted to charge Naruto by now, but he knew this would get him nowhere. What the hell is that supposed to mean? He asked Naruto. Naruto could see that the others listening had the same question, but he simply smiled and said one sentence that confused them even more. Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. Hayate decided he had enough of this nonsense, and was about to attack, when he saw Naruto bring his left hand to the blade of his sword and drew it along the blade. Strange thing was, as his hand moved, flames were enveloping the blade. Naruto saw his expression and smirked. You didn't really think that the name was for fun, did you? He said teasingly. The sight of the flaming blade made Hayate and Yugo nervous, but they decided to attack anyway. They created 5 cage bushins each and sent them to surround Naruto, while they jumped up to attack from above. Naruto just smiled and hit the ground with his blade, creating an explosion of fire that destroyed the clones, and then lifted it to parry the swords coming at his head. Naruto put enough strength to throw the two upwards again, and then jumped behind them, kicking Yugo away and sending a rather slow for him at last overhead slash at Hayate, who managed to use his own blade to block it. However, the strength of the blow was such that it sent him crashing to the ground. Naruto landed down so lightly that it seemed as if he was floating. Then he heard Kakashi announce a jutsu. Suiten. Water Dragon no Jutsu. Naruto turned and, instead of jumping away, charged straight to the dragon, using his sword to cleave through it, steam coming up from the contact of fire and water. Kakashi couldn't see anything, so he was surprised when Naruto came at him through the steam, kicking him away, hard. Naruto let flamage disappear, just as Guy and Asuma came at him, trying to take him on together. However, neither Guy's speed and strength nor Asuma's wind-enhanced trench knives were enough to get a hit on him, and were soon kicked and punched away respectively. That was when Naruto found himself surrounded by Sume, Hana and their transformed companions, all grinning madly at him. Naruto smiled as well. This was going to be fun. All 6 of his opponents did the same thing. With a shout of Gatsuga from Sume and Hana, Naruto suddenly found himself facing 6 whirlwinds trying to hit him, while he was constantly dodging. Damn, this is annoying, he muttered. He lifted his hands, each catching a whirlwind as it was about to hit him. It turned out to be a Hana and a Sume. He threw them towards 2 other whirlwinds, forcing them to stop, as a Hana and a Sume doing them stopped to catch those that he threw at them, who soon dispelled, showing Kuromaru and one of Hana's partners. He then jumped at one of the 2 remaining summoned flamage back on his hand, and used it to deflect it towards the last remaining whirlwind, forcing both to stop and Hana's last 2 partners to fall down. Naruto fall back on the ground, flamage disappearing once again, and smiled at the 2 women. Not bad at all, he told them. We are not done yet, brat, said Sume, exchanging a short look with Hana, who nodded. They gave to their companions a new pill, and with a puff of smoke, Naruto found himself facing a large four-headed wolf and an even larger two-headed one. Naruto cautiously took a step back. Good doggies. Naruto decided he definitely didn't like the toothy smiles sent to him by the two canines. The larger of the two lunged forward, taking a swipe at Naruto, who dodged. Then both of the wolves jumped up, forming whirlwinds again. Only these were much bigger than the previous one. What's worse, Naruto soon found out another problem. As he dodged one, he felt something warm at his cheek. He touched it and found out it was blood. He had been cut. The winds. Their rotation is so fast that it creates cutting winds that hit you even if you dodge. Boy, what a move, he realized. He saw both of them coming at him and jumped high to avoid them. Sume and Hana smirked, believing that he had finally made a mistake. It was impossible to avoid them in the air. Unfortunately for them, Naruto didn't plan to dodge. As the two were coming at him again, he lifted his hands and the whirlwinds crashed on them. A big cloud of smoke enveloped them. Everyone was looking on sadly, sure that Naruto was shredded by that attack. For this reason, they were greatly surprised when they saw Kuromaru and the Haimaru triplets fall from the smoke. When it cleared, they saw Naruto holding Sume and Hana from their throats, blood on his hands from facing their attack head-on. What surprised them even more was that he was actually floating downwards. Naruto touched the ground and smiled at Sume and Hana. That was one hell of an attack, he said to them, before throwing towards the rest of his opponents. He looked at his bloodied hands. What's up with women scratching my hands today? Is this a combat or a catfight? Every woman twitched, while the men backed away from them. Then Naruto continued. Then again the men haven't managed to do even that. They are either very lazy or very weak. Instantly all the women were smiling victoriously, while all the men were crying anime tears. Then they got serious again. Naruto looked on curious as Asuma paired with Anko, Kakashi with Yugo, Hana with Sume, and Hiashi with Shizune and started going through hand seals. Soon, Anko and Hana shouted, Kaden. Fire Dragon no Jutsu. Asuma and Kakashi shouted, Futon. Wind Dragon no Jutsu. Sume shouted, Doden. Earth Dragon no Jutsu. Hiashi and Yugo shouted, Sweden. Water Dragon no Jutsu. And Shizuna shouted, Raiden. Lighting Dragon no Jutsu. Naruto watched as Anko's Fire Dragon merged with Asuma's Wind one, forming a much longer and faster Fire Dragon. Kakashi's Wind Dragon merged with Yugo's Water one, making an Ice Dragon. Hana's Fire Dragon merged with Sune's Earth one, making a dragon formed from molten rocks, and Hiashi's Water one with Shizune's Lighting one, forming a water dragon with lighting going through its body. The four stronger dragons lunged towards Naruto, who smirked and ran towards them, bringing his right hand to his left side, as if to draw a sword that wasn't there. The Jonin were sure that this would end the battle, however, when the dragons were about to hit Naruto, they were cut in two, Naruto coming through them, Masamune in his right hand. As the remains of the dragons were dissipating behind him, the Jonin looked at Naruto with a shocked look. He had cut through four of the strongest jutsu known to shinobi with a single slash. Akamichi Choja walked forward, a determined expression on his face. Get back, he said to the others as his size started to grow. They complied immediately, knowing what he was about to do. Naruto watched as the man standing before him literally became a giant and unsealed an equally big staff. Choja lifted his staff, bringing it above Naruto's head, and was about to bring it down, when Naruto swung Masamune upwards, sending a blade of wind cutting through Choja's staff like a hot knife through butter. Choja let the staff go, knowing that if he didn't, his fingers would be cut off as well. A wise decision. The staff was cleanly cut in two pieces, which fell on either side of Naruto, shaking the ground. Naruto didn't even blink, but looked at Choja with a bored expression on his face. Choja growled and jumped high in the air, intending to squash Naruto under his weight. Naruto looked up, smiling. You know what they say, the larger they are. Naruto lifted his left hand just as Choja was about to land on him. The ground shook from the impact. There was, however, one slight problem. Choja was not touching the ground. Then they heard Naruto's voice. The harder they fell, Choja was thrown towards the Jonin, but thankfully he managed to turn to his original size before turning them to paste. Naruto looked towards the audience, shouting, Kurenai-san, if you want you can join us again. Kurenai's shunshined there, looking at him questioningly. Why did you let me rejoin the fight, knowing that you are vulnerable to my genjutsu? She asked. Naruto smiled. Simple. Well, I've had lots of fun with this fight, but I think it's time I ended it. He brought Masamune in a Batajutsu stance and smiled at them. The next second he was behind them, his sword arm extended. For a second nothing happened, and then slashes started to appear all over the Jonin's bodies, albeit shallow ones. Well, to the men, all the women felt was a slight touch of a blade at their necks, barely enough to tell them that they lost. They fell to the ground. Naruto let Masamune disappear, and moved towards Hayate, his face expressionless. He looked down on him. Do you see now, the difference in our levels? He asked. Hayate didn't answer. Naruto saw the medics coming, but waved them off. I'll take care of them, he said. A green light enveloped his left arm, in the center of which, if someone looked closely enough, they would see a sphere. He turned his arm towards the injured men, and simply said, Cura. The same green light enveloped them, and when it was gone, not a single scratch could be seen. Kakashi shakily stood up. Remind me never to piss you off. Then he saw that the women were perfectly fine. Why did you leave them alone? He asked, pointing at them. All of the women wanted to know the same thing. They were kunoichi, they didn't like to be patronized or treated like something breakable. Naruto simply smirked. Look at your clothes, he said to Kakashi. Kakashi did, and indeed found out that they were about ready to fall off from the numerous slashes. Kakashi was about to try and count them, when Jiraiya intervened. Wait a second, Naruto. You mean you had the chance to leave all this women naked while having a perfectly good excuse and you didn't? What type of man are you? Everybody's eyes widened at the realization. The men cursing him on their thoughts for wasting such a good opportunity for all of them, except Guy. He was busy ranting something about youth. While the women were smiling, glad to have at long last found a male who is not a pervert. Naruto narrowed his eyes, the kind of man that doesn't like perverts. Why, are you one? Kakashi paled at this. Jiraiya had stopped peeping and writing Icha after Naruto's disappearance, but once Naruto left with Sarutobi for the council meeting, he declared that the first thing he would do afterwards was go peeping. This, coupled with what Naruto told Kakashi when he went to show him where he would stay, didn't bode well for the Toad Sannin. Flashback begins. Kakashi was waiting Naruto outside the council chamber when he left them to decide who would be his opponents. Hey, Naruto, I've been ordered to show you your house. If you would follow me? Naruto smiled. Gladly, Kakashi-Nisan, said Naruto, surprising Kakashi with the suffix. I'm not sure I have the right to be called that, Naruto. If I hadn't left you that night, none of this would have happened. Naruto smiled kindly at him. Kakashi, whether or not you have the right to be called like that is up to me to decide. Besides, who said I have ever wished that that night hadn't happened? Kakashi looked at Naruto surprised, but let it go. He motioned him to follow, as he got out. As they were walking, Naruto was reading his red book, much like Kakashi would read his Icha. Kakashi's perverted side kicked in, and he asked Naruto, is this a new book of Icha? The next second he had flamage at his throat. Don't you ever compare the word of art that is loveless with that perverted books. I hate perverts. Did you understand that? Said a royally pissed of Naruto. Kakashi quickly nodded, noting to himself to not get caught by Naruto reading his Icha. When they reached the house, a rather large apartment that was actually big enough for 10 people, Kakashi decided to ask something that occupied his thoughts ever since his talk with Naruto at the Hokage's office. Hey, Naruto. I might be wrong, but I think that you didn't tell us your entire story. Naruto smiled at him. Of course I didn't, Kakashi-Nisan. Where would be the fun in that? Flashback ends. Unfortunately for Jiraiya, he didn't know this, and he answered in his usual manner. No, I'm not a pervert, I'm a super pervert. Naruto's eyes narrowed even more and he asked, you know, I once heard that Icha's author was a super pervert. Would you know anything about it? Unfortunately for Jiraiya, he missed the murderous look in Naruto's eyes. Of course I do, Icha is my masterpiece. Gloated Jiraiya. The brutal beating that followed had all the men cringing in sympathy for Jiraiya, and all the women were cheering and taking notes, especially Anko and Tsunade, much to the male's horror. Once Jiraiya was nothing more than a bloody pulp to the ground, Naruto turned towards the others. and saw that Kakashi pouch had fallen off from one of his slashes and something orange could be seen inside it. Naruto picked it up and frowned when he saw it was the Icha. Kakashi, said Naruto ominously. Kakashi gulped and turned to leave, but was lifted off the ground by Naruto, who turned him towards the gathered women, so that he could receive his punishment. To Kakashi's eternal horror, Naruto threw the orange book to the women. If you would do the honors, ladies? He asked. The women laughed evilly, and proceeded to do what they had dreamed to do for years. First they ripped each page out, then ripped it further so that it resembled confetti, and then used a simultaneous Kaiden jutsu to burn the remains. By this time, Sarutobi and the rest of the council had reached them. Sarutobi wanted to comment on what Naruto did to Jiraiya and Kakashi, but he didn't, not wanting to find out what he would do if he found out that Sarutobi liked reading Icha himself. Well, I think it's obvious that Naruto has what it takes to be a shinobi of Konoha, said Sarutobi to the rest of the council, who had no choice but to agree. Naruto turned to leave, speaking to Sarutobi above his shoulder. I'm going to my house, old man. I'll come by your office tomorrow to discuss my rank and team. He was stopped by a call by Sarutobi. Naruto, catch. Naruto turned to catch with his right hand the Konoha headband that was thrown to him. He looked at it for a second, then crushed it. Before anyone could speak, Naruto explained, I'll never belong to Konoha, old man. Just like I will never become Danzo's weapon, and for the same reason. Sarutobi didn't like this, and may ask what that reason is. Naruto. Simple, old man. A servant, much like a weapon, can have only one master. And I've chosen my master willingly years ago. It was she who told me to come here. And before you ask, she has no ill will towards Konoha. After all, it's because of you that she found me. Plus, I'm no slave. I have my free will. I could leave her, if I so wished. It's up to me how I complete my task, a task that I also decided myself. And no, you can't persuade me to leave her. Danzo saw this as an opportunity. We can't have someone who freely admits that is not loyal to us become a Konoha shinobi. We must imprison him and study him. Before anyone could answer, Naruto's laugh filled the place. He was laughing so hard that he had trouble breathing. Eventually he calmed down. Imprison me? Study me? You are obviously a lot stupider than I thought, Danzo, said Naruto, looking down, his voice holding promises of pain and death. He slowly raised his head to look at them, and as he did so the earth started to tremble, as if an earthquake was happening. As if you could do either of those things. When he fully lifted his head and looked at them, all of them gasped in fright. His eyes were now more silted than ever, full of coldness, but that was not what frightened them. No, what did that was what they saw when he looked at them. They saw visions of him destroying Konoha like it was nothing, killing its inhabitants and shinobi like they were mere bugs. They saw him killing their loved ones while they were unable to do anything. Then they saw him killing them, slowly and painfully, and smiling while doing all of these things. Finally, Naruto turned around, releasing them. They fell to the ground, panting hard. Naruto spoke to them again, his voice softer now, but still harsh. I can be one's best friend, or one's worst enemy. Let me join you, and I'll probably make enough friends to want to help Konoha. Ask me to leave and I'll do so, and remain neutral. Attack me, and I'll turn Konoha into one big pile of rubble, and what you saw will come to pass. Think carefully. And with that, he disappeared. Naruto was walking towards his house, which was actually his father's house when he was Hokage, when he felt the last of the cage bushins that he had left behind to read the numerous books his father's library held dispel. Since he had to use Kyuubi's chakra to make them, he decided instead to go to the hot springs to relax and feel clean again. 10 minutes later, Naruto sighed as he got in the water. He always loved hot springs. He just wished that they wouldn't decide to listen to Danzo. While he could be perfectly ruthless, he didn't enjoy killing unless his victim deserved it. Note to self: avoid pissing of Kurenai. That genjutsu of hers was extremely disturbing. He muttered, then shivered. Since the fight had ended and he was alone, he could let himself do it, as he wanted ever since seeing it. After a while he sighed again. Man, am I stupid. What the hell was I thinking, flirting with Sume like that? As if I could ever be with her or anyone else. I can't let anyone get near me. They will only get hurt when I die. Suddenly he winced. Hearing someone shouting inside your head will do that. What have I told you about this attitude? I don't want you to die, simply to accomplish your goal. Idiot. Naruto scowled and tried to disagree, but mother, I thought you wanted me to accomplish it more than anything. It will be done much faster with my life force. The voice somehow managed to get even louder. I do, but not at the expense of your life. Personally, I think you should try to be with that woman, Sume, or anyone else that could love you. You had kept your heart closed for far too long. This was how I was taught. By Sephiroth only. Was it what Genesis and Angel taught you? You have done remarkable process since Kiri. Don't let it go to waste. I want you to at least try to make friends. Promise me that you will and that you will never again think about throwing your life away. Naruto sighed but complied. Very well, I promise you, my goddess. Back in her chamber, Genova cut the mental connection between herself and Naruto. Don't you dare die before I return, Naruto. I want to see and judge you with my own eyes. Meanwhile, while Naruto was going to the hot springs, at the Hokage's office the Hokage, the council, and those that fought Naruto, were trying to decide what to do. Currently, silence was reigning, since everybody was lost at his thoughts. The silence was broken by a sudden sneeze from Kurenai. I get the feeling that someone is afraid of me or my genjutsu. Either way, it's a good thing. That was when Sarutobi decided to speak. So, what do you think that we should do with Naruto? I will hear the clan heads first, then the Jonin that fought him. Just to make it clear, the civilians, and you Danzo, have no say in this. You are simply here to obey the decision. And you will obey it, if you don't want to keep company to Ibiki. Shikaku, you first. Well, it's obvious that we can't afford to make him our enemy. We could ask him to leave, but I believe that he should be allowed to stay. He is incredibly strong, I don't think it's smart to leave him be a wild card. Said the Nara head. Shibi spoke next. I agree with Nara-san. Making him our enemy would not be simply illogical, but outright stupid. Cue shocked looks from everyone. He would be an invaluable ally. While I agree with you too, let me warn you. I may be unable to enter Naruto-san's mind, but I'm fairly sure that he would understand it immediately if someone was pretending to be his friend, and would not take kindly to it. Thus, my suggestion is that we leave our shinobi free to decide for themselves. Both clan and non-clan members. Said Inoichi. Choja nodded in agreement. In my enlarged state, I must weigh more than 10 tons, and he lifted me with incredible ease. Not even Tsunade-sama would be able to do this. I'm not sure I would be stronger than him even if I took the red pepper pill. Hiyashi frowned. I planned to forbid my clan for annoying him, but I also planned to forbid them from befriending him. I don't want my clan to come in contact with him. I neither like him nor trust him. Sume smirked and was about to speak, when she sneezed. Why'd I get the feeling that I should find Naruto and beat him into a bloody pulp? She ignored it and continued. You're letting your pride speak for you, Hiyashi. You are just mad that the brat humiliated you and beat you without breaking a sweat. At least Hana and I managed to make him bleed. I don't know about you, but I want him to stay in Konoha. If he ever wants friends, I'm sure that he will find plenty among the Inuzuka. I know my clan and I'm sure that everyone would like him. Well, maybe Kiba wouldn't, but he doesn't count. Sarutobi nodded, seeing that all the clan heads agreed, and turned to the Jonin to hear their opinion. Kakashi spoke first. I've never seen anything like that, Hokage-sama. I've never before been so outclassed in my life, and I'm pretty sure that's true for everybody here. Even with my Mangekyo I could not keep up with him. I don't want him for an enemy. Quote. Guy was next and he was serious for once. I know I'm not saying anything new, but his strength and speed were completely off the records, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't even trying, except when he avoided Kakashi's rakery. Then he got back to his usual self. Yash. Naruto-kun is an example of youthfulness. I'm sure he became this strong through hard work. We must follow his example. I can't believe I actually wrote this. The other Jonin nodded, not having anything to add. After all, the results spoke for themselves. Only Enko bothered to state the obvious. If the Gaki had fought us for real, we would have been cut to pieces before we had time to blink. Sarutobi nodded. So we are all in agreement. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is an official shinobi of Konoha. A simultaneous, "Hi," was his answer. Naruto woke up feeling very refreshed. He had slept well. While he could easily go without sleep for a month if needed, he still enjoyed sleep as much as everybody else. Something that Sephiroth and Genesis tried to beat out of him, saying that he should only sleep when he felt himself not being able to use the full 100% of his abilities because of exhaustion. Anything more than that would be a waste of time. Luckily, Angeal had been opposed to this. Still, when Naruto was in the wilderness he slept as rarely as possible, which was once every 10 days. As Naruto was getting dressed, he wondered whether or not they would let him become a shinobi, and if so, how the Hokage would react to his team proposition. He strapped Buster Blade to his back and was about to leave, when for some reason he got the feeling that somebody would do something incredibly stupid today. As he walked towards the Hokage tower, he thought about all that his Kage Bunshins had read the previous day. While he could not use chakra, that didn't mean that he shouldn't know the various jutsu. Still, he was very annoyed with the fact that he couldn't use Fuinjutsu. It seemed very interesting. He didn't really bother with all the details on politics that he had learned. While they could prove useful, he had found out that even the most bureaucratic politician would shut up and do as asked if he had a sword pressed at his neck. If Naruto remembered correctly, it was called aggressive negotiations. When Naruto reached the Hokage tower, he decided to walk through the front door, so that he wouldn't give the old man any heart attacks. Good thing too, because the secretary told him that he was awaited at the council chamber. Naruto wasn't sure if this was good or not. When Naruto entered the council chamber through the repaired doors, he saw that in the room were waiting the Jonin that had faced him the previous day, as well as the council. He lifted an eyebrow at that. So, did you decide what is going to happen? Sarutobi nodded. Indeed we did, Naruto. Henceforth, you are a shinobi under the employment of Konoha, since you said that you would not serve it. Still, I expect from you to behave as if you did. Naruto shrugged. So long as it doesn't conflict with what I'm supposed to do, sure, no problem. However, if anyone is stupid enough to make me his enemy, he is done for, Konoha shinobi or not. Agreed? Sarutobi nodded and pointed towards an empty chair to his right. This is your seat in the council as head of the Namikaze clan. Please sit. Naruto moved forward and sit down, before turning to Sarutobi. Just so you know, I have no interest in politics whatsoever. In any meetings you can have my vote yourself, unless it's something that will affect me directly. Now, I think we need to discuss about my rank and team? Sarutobi nodded and was about to speak, when a stupid counselor to interfere. Before that, there is a more important matter. Since Naruto-san is the last member of the Namikaze clan, he must be put under the CRA. Naruto growled hearing that. CRA? Isn't that where the person under it is used to impregnate several women? What happens if I refuse? We will force you, was the stupid counselor's answer. The temperature in the room fell by 10 degrees before Naruto asked his next question. And what happens if the women chosen refuse? Naruto's look clearly said what would happen if the wrong answer was given. However, it seemed that the counselor was bored with his life and wanted to end it. They will be forced as well. Now, this is not the smartest thing to say in a room full of women that could kill you in less than 10 seconds. However, since he was a counselor, they couldn't touch him and he knew it. Unfortunately for him, Naruto had no such reservations. The moment the idiot finished his sentence, a knee met his gut, throwing him at the air. Most shinobi in the room were surprised that Naruto didn't follow with another hit, but that was soon answered when the soon-to-be dead landed. Naruto's right hand was enveloped by a sickly-looking green as he turned it towards the doomed man. Poison. Screams of pain filled the room, as the counselor felt his insides melting slowly and as if molten metal was coursing through his veins. Everyone looked on, their faces green, as the man tried to speak, eventually succeeding. Please end this, I beg you, he whimpered. Naruto smirked and lifted him from the ground, using his left hand to hold him from his throat. He slammed him to the wall. Gladly, the punch that followed was strong enough to break through the wall and send the counselor flying. Immediately, a fire-red light engulfed Naruto's arm, and he pointed it towards the flying man. Fire! A fireball left his arm and engulfed the man. With a last scream of pain, he was reduced to ashes. Naruto turned towards the people present. His voice was ice-cold, as he spoke to them. To me, people who even consider doing something that comes ever remotely close to rape, have lost all rights of living. The only thing they deserve is a slow and painful death. Now, since I'm a counselor and can propose laws, I think that the CRA should stop being obligatory, both for males and females. Do you all agree? Everyone quickly nodded. Naruto, how did you become like this? Asked Sarutobi hesitantly. Naruto's answer was unexpected, simple. All that I am now is thanks to my mother. Everyone was confused. After all, Naruto never met his mother. What is that supposed to mean? Asked Danzo, who was very interested in the answer. Naruto walked towards the recently created window and looked at the sky for a while, before answering. Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus, and take it to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest. Needless to say, the only thing that did was to confuse them even more. However, he refused to explain further, no matter how much they asked him. Eventually, they got back to the task at hand, deciding Naruto's rank and team. Okay Naruto, we decided that you should be a Jonin or, if you want, a Sannin. Unless you have another suggestion? Asked Sarutobi. Actually, I have one. But before I say it, can I see the files of your Jonin? Not the complete files mind you. I only want to know their abilities and specialties in battle. Also, I want the files of the academy students that are aiming for Genin. The complete files in this case, unless their clans want to keep some things secret. But I must know their abilities and general details, like character and mindset. Sarutobi understood Naruto's plan, at least partially. He wants to choose who his teammates will be. But why does he need the files of the aspirant Genin? Oh well, only one way to find out. Sarutobi sent an Anbu to bring the files. The clan heads didn't have any objections. These files didn't contain any family secrets, and anyone could easily learn about their kid's character if he asked around. When the Anbu returned, Naruto sat on his seat and started reading them. Once he was done, he turned to the people present to explain his idea. Okay, first of all, I don't want to go directly to a higher rank, it's not really my style. Plus, I don't think I would make many friends among the younger generation if I did that. On the other hand, if I was simply a Genin, it would be a complete waste, not to mention that I would go nuts from the boredom. Thus my proposition. I will be in a team with 2 other Genin, but instead of 1 Jonin sensei, there will be 4. This way, we will be able to take higher rank missions while keeping the Genin safe. The other 2 will learn more things than they would originally, and finally I can teach some things to my teammates myself, both Genin and Jonin. Everyone thought this over for a while. His arguments made sense. Plus, after some time this team would be excellent for dealing with emergencies or difficult missions. Which Jonin and Genin have you chosen as your teammates? Asked Sarutobi. Well, the Jonin were easy. Kurenai Yuhi, Mitarashi Anko, Inuzuka Hana and Azuki Yugo, answered Naruto. The 4 mentioned were surprised. Why the 4 of us? Why not someone like Kakashi? Asked Kurenai. For 3 simple reasons. Firstly, with you being a Genjutsu expert, Anko being a Ninjutsu expert, Hana being a Taijutsu expert and Yugo being a Kenjutsu expert, this is a perfectly balanced team, capable to face all situations. Secondly, judging from their reaction when you used your Genjutsu on me yesterday, you 4 are friends. That means that you can work well together. And lastly, because you Kurenai are the only one here who can actually teach me something, even if it is only how to counter Genjutsu. Kurenai blushed a bit at this. Of course, her 3 friends saw this and filed it away for future blackmail. Seeing that his reasons were logical, Sarutobi nodded in acceptance. Okay, now that this is out of the way, what about the Genins? Well, this was a little more difficult, but I decided on 2. Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Now, before you start bitching, let me explain. I want Shino because his file says that he can be calm and analytical no matter the situation. Plus, his bugs can be a valuable asset for tracking, attacking and support. Hinata, I admit, was not my first choice for the second member. Originally, I wanted Nara Shikamaru. However, there are 2 problems with him. 1. I guess that he is supposed to be a member of the new Ino Shika Cho trio. He stopped for a second and looked at Sarutobi for confirmation. Sarutobi nodded in affirmative, and Naruto continued. The second problem is that I don't want to separate him from his friend Choji. I don't like separating friends. Plus, these children will have their innocence stripped away from them the moment they kill for the first time. I prefer to let them be with their friends when that happens. Everybody nodded at this. It was a sad fact of the life of a shinobi. Naruto continued, as for why I decided on Hinata. I rejected Yamanaka Ino and Akamichi Choji for the same reasons I rejected Shikamaru. Haruno Sakura is, as far as I can tell, a useless fangirl without any useful skills. Inuzuka Kiba wouldn't really add anything useful to this team. Plus, it's possible that he wouldn't like to be taught by his sister and that he would always want to appear to be the best, which would cause trouble for the teamwork. He stopped and looked at Hana and Sume, who nodded. Kiba was not the easiest person to work with. Lastly, I definitely don't want Uchiha Sasuke. If the brat's behavior is half as bad as his file says, I would lose my patience and kill him in the first 10 minutes. Hiyashi spoke then. So you want my daughter in your team merely because she is the last one remaining? Naruto shook his head. No. Actually, I believe that she can contribute to the team. Her Byakugan would be useful in scouting, tracking and detecting traps. Plus, according to her file, she does have skills. Her only real problems are that she is too shy, that her personality is too gentle and that she lacks self-esteem, none of which are good for a shinobi. However, if being in a team with 4 women who are not only strong as Kunoichi, but also, as far as I can tell, as characters, can't help her, then nothing can. Hiyashi thought this over. On the one hand, he didn't want his clan to have anything to do with Naruto. On the other hand, this was perhaps the only way that his daughter would start to act as a clan heir and shinobi should. And Hiyashi wanted this to happen more than anything. If she didn't, the clan elders would probably brand her with the caged bird seal, and Hiyashi didn't want this to happen to his daughter. Finally he nodded, agreeing with the proposition. Seeing this, Sarutobi turned towards Anko, Kurenai, Hana and Yugo. Well, do you agree with this? The 4 women looked at each other for a second, before speaking together. We do, Hokage-sama. Haruno Sasha was not happy. Not only the damn demon insulted her daughter, but he also insulted Sasuke Uchiha. She wanted to protest and say that Sasuke should be the one taught by 4 Jonins, not some freak with bugs living inside him or a weird white-eyed girl. However, she had seen Naruto kill 2 counselors already without any consequences, and she didn't want to be the 3rd one. Very well, this is decided then. Now, for the other teams. Team 1 will be, they are unimportant. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Haruno Sakura and Kiba Inuzuka. Their sensei will be Kakashi. Kakashi, you also have the mission to keep a close eye to Sasuke. I don't trust his mental health. Kakashi nodded. Team 8 will be Naruto's team. Their main sensei will be Kurenai. You 4 are allowed to teach them anything you think they should learn. I want this team to be able to take on Sannin-level opponents without Naruto's help by the time they become Jonin. Maybe sooner. The 4 women nodded. Team 9 is still in circulation. Guy, do try to prevent Lee from choosing Naruto as his eternal rival. I don't think he is ready for this. Guy nodded, his face serious. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Shikamaru Nara and Akamichi Choji. Their sensei will be Asuma. Don't dare to complain, Asuma. You are way too lazy. And you had better train them if you know what's good for you. Asuma nodded, but he was inwardly cursing his father for doing this to him. Okay Naruto, the teams will be announced to the Genin 5 hours from now. Be at the academy then, said Sarutobi. Naruto nodded and left. Sarutobi dismissed the others in the room and left for his office to continue his battle against paperwork. Sometime later, Anko, Kurenai, Hana and Yugo were sitting at a dango shop, eating and discussing. So, what do you think about our new team? Asked Yugo. Well, it will certainly be interesting. It was good of him to ask for all 4 of us. It has been ages since we worked together. Although the goal that Hokage-sama put to us is quite difficult to achieve. Answered Kurenai. Perhaps, but with all 4 of us to teach them, plus Naruto, it's not impossible. Though I wonder what he could teach us. Said Hana. Well, we just have to wait and find out. Personally, I'll enjoy breaking the Hyuga heiress out of her shell. Said Anko with an evil, sadistic smile on her face. Remember Anko, we are supposed to train them, not cause them mental trauma. Said Kurenai. Anko waved her off. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think about that hunk, Naruto? He looks delicious, doesn't he? Said Anko with a lecherous grin. The answer she got was 3 blushes. Can't you keep your mind out of the gutter, Anko? Admonished Kurenai her friend. Nope, and judging from your blushes, you 3 can't either. Said Anko cheekily. The other 3 blushed even more. Needless to say, Anko was not one to stop there. And don't forget that not only he detests perverts, he also hates rapers with a passion. Plus, he stopped women from being used for breeding without their consent, and he managed to make those damn civilians eat their tongues. Okay Anko, we get it, you can stop now, said Hana, who had managed to get her blush under control. All four of them were sure for one thing. Things were about to get interesting. Meanwhile, Kakashi was in front of the memorial stone. Sensei, I thought you would like to know that your son is alive and no longer needs any guardians. Sensei, Obito, Rin, this is a second chance for me. I won't live in the past any longer, as I know you would want. And, Obito, sorry to say this, but your nephew is a royal jerk, and I plan to beat it out of him. With that, Kakashi turned around and left, going to buy an icha-icha, that he would make sure to read only in his house, so that it wouldn't share the fate of its predecessor. His last thought before he left was, finally, things are looking up. Nara Shikamaru was trying to sleep at his classroom, when a shiver went up his spine. Why'd I get the feeling that things are about to get really troublesome? Some hours later, Amino Iruka was a very happy man. At last, the time had come that he would be free from Sasuke Uchiha and his annoying fangirls. All he had to do was announce the teams, and that was it. However, just as he was about to begin, he was interrupted by the door opening and some people walking in. They first five were Asuma, Kurenai, Hana, Yugo and Anko. Seeing her, Iruka said a short prayer to Kami to have mercy on the poor souls that would have her as sensei. The sixth person that entered was Naruto. Hey, Naruto, I didn't think you would be interested in teaching, said Iruka, thinking that he was here as a Jonin sensei. Naruto just chuckled and told him to continue with the teams. Iruka was about to do so, when he was interrupted again, this time by Sasuke. Hey, sensei, who are these people? Iruka sighed. They are the Jonin that will teach you, Sasuke. Sasuke snorted. These are Jonin? All I see are a lazy-looking smoker and four women who would only be useful as whores. He was interrupted by feeling his shoulder be squeezed so hard, that he cried out in pain. He looked back and saw that it was Naruto holding him. When did he move? He thought, shocked. Naruto spoke, his voice promising torture. You have three choices, young bastard. Either you go on all fours, crawl towards them and beg for forgiveness while licking their shoes for calling them like that, or I make you do it, or they take care of it in their own way. Your choice. Iruka decided to give a piece of advice to his student. The fact that he didn't like him didn't mean that he wanted to see him die a horrible death. Sasuke, your best choice is the first one. Those four are best friends, and none of them take kindly to people insulting the other three. Letting Naruto take care of it is probably even worse. He is not someone you want to piss off. Of course, Sasuke being his normal arrogant self decided to ignore Iruka and dig an even bigger grave for himself. I'm an Uchiha. I'll never grovel in front of women. The only thing they are good for are for housework, breeding and fucking. The Ki that flooded the room would probably be enough to make even the Kyuubi scared. However, it subsided after a second, and an evil smirk adorned the four women's faces. Now, seeing this smile in Anko's face was an everyday occurrence. It was also occasionally seen in Hana's and Yugo's face. However, seeing it in the usually calm Kurenai's face was downright scary. Hey, Naruto-kun, I've an idea. Why not combine the second and third options? Asked Anko, still smirking. Naruto smirked as well. I like your way of thinking, Anko-chan. Naruto turned Sasuke towards him and looked him in the eyes. Much like the Jonins the day before, Sasuke started seeing visions. Visions of himself being killed in every possible way and then some that he didn't think possible by a laughing Naruto. Soon, a stain could be seen on Sasuke's trousers. He had peed himself, much to the enjoyment of everyone in the room. Well, everyone except a certain pink-haired banshee, big surprise there. Naruto let Sasuke go, who actually got on all fours and started crawling towards the four women, saying that he was sorry all the while. However, just as he was going to lick Anko's shoe, she kicked him away. Don't touch our shoes, you bastard, you will dirty them. The four women surrounded the fallen Sasuke so that they could have their share of fun. First, Kurenai put him in a genjutsu where all pain he felt was magnified 3 times and where he couldn't lose consciousness no matter what. Then Anko sent some snakes from the sleeves of her trench coat to bite him. They were a special kind of snakes, whose poison didn't kill but instead caused an excruciating amount of pain. Couple that with Kurenai's genjutsu. Next were Yugo with her katana and Hana with her claws. They started to cut the idiot, first only shallow cuts and then somewhat deeper ones, although they were careful not to cause any fatal wounds. Finally, they decided to end it, in the most brutal way they knew. All four kicked him at the nuts, at the same time. The following scream could probably be heard from Snow Country. Naruto came closer to examine their handiwork. He whistled in appreciation. "Wow, you did a damn good job. I had thought of something else to do when you were done with him, but there is no point now. I'm officially impressed." The four women glowed at the praise. Shikamaru raised his hand, trembling. "Iruka-sensei, please tell me that I'm not at the same team with one of them." Iruka checked his paper and paled. "Actually, Shikamaru, those five are all in the same team." Everyone in the room paled and started to look for places to hide, hoping that they weren't in that team. The fact that Naruto and Anko started to laugh at their reaction probably wasn't helping either. Kurenai stopped them with a slap at the back of the head. "Stop that, you two, you are scaring them." Iruka checked his paper again to see who the unfortunate students were. "Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. I'm sorry, but you are in their team." The two students rose from their seats, trembling. Seeing this, Kurenai tried to calm them. "Don't worry, we won't hurt you." Hana and Yugo nodded in agreement, as did Anko, after she was elbowed by Kurenai. They turned to Naruto, who just shrugged. "Well, let's get going. Why don't we go at a dango shop so we can eat while the introductions are made?" "Might treat," said Naruto. Anko managed to stop herself from jumping him, if only barely. "So, do you think dango is the best food of all as well, Naruto?" she asked. Naruto shook his head. "Nope, I think that's ramen, but dango is a very close second." While Anko pouted and mumbled something about people not being able to tell the difference between good food and rubbish, Yugo asked, "If you like ramen more, then why did you say that we should go for dango?" "Simple. I have found out that women really enjoy eating dango, whether they admit it or not. And since in our team there are 5 women and 2 men," answered Naruto. Naruto turned to leave, but because of this he missed the look that the 4 women exchanged when he told this. Naruto took his seat and sweat dropped when he saw how much dango Anko had ordered. Note to self: never offer to treat Anko to dango again. After all of them ate some, Kurenai spoke. "Okay, it's time for introductions. Name, likes, dislikes, specialties, general abilities and dreams for the future. I'll go first. My name is Yuhi Kurenai. I like my 3 friends here, training, learning about new genjutsu and gardening. I dislike people who are arrogant, people who think women are weak, perverts, rapists, and people who insult or try to harm my friends. I also dislike fangirls. They give a bad name to every kunoichi of the elemental nations. My specialty is genjutsu. I'm quite good in taijutsu and somewhat good in ninjutsu. I know next to nothing about kenjutsu. My dream is to become the best genjutsu user ever." Anko was next. "My name is Anko Mitarashi. I like dango, torturing and scaring people, my friends, and people who wait to know someone before judging him or her. I dislike perverts, rapists, fangirls, those that hurt my friends, those that judge others without knowing them first, and those that try to take my dango from me. My specialties are ninjutsu and interrogation. I'm also very good at taijutsu, but I suck when it comes to genjutsu and kenjutsu. My dream is to kill a certain snake and get rid of the hickey he left me with. I'm Hana Inuzuka. I like spending time with my friends, dogs and annoying my brother. I dislike perverts, rapists, fangirls, those that try to hurt my friends or family and cats. My specialty is taijutsu, as well as using my clan techniques. I'm fairly good in ninjutsu, but I'm hopeless at genjutsu and kenjutsu. My dream is to become the best vet in the elemental nations. I'm Yugo Izuki. I like sword fighting, reading and spending time with my friends. My dislikes are perverts, rapists, fangirls, those that try to harm my friends and those who hold a sword without truly understanding what it means. My specialty is kenjutsu. I'm very good at ninjutsu, quite good at taijutsu and moderate at genjutsu. My dream, well, until yesterday it was to become the best sword fighter in the elemental nations. Now I simply want to become one of the best. There is no point in having a dream that can't be fulfilled. Now, since we introduced ourselves, it's your turn. You first, Bug Boy." "My name is Aburame Shino. I like bugs and people who use logic." My dislikes are people who harm bugs, people who dislike my family because of our bugs, and people who do illogical things. My specialty lies in the use of my bugs and clan techniques. I'm not good at the rest areas. My dream is to learn about all the insects of the elemental nations and persuade some of them to join my clan," said Shino. "Okay, you next, Hinata," said Kurenai. "My name is Hyuga Hinata. I like cinnamon rolls. I dislike the caged bird seal of my clan. I can use the Byakugan and the Jiyuken, but I'm not good at them. I don't know any ninjutsu besides the academy ones, and I know absolutely nothing about genjutsu or kenjutsu. I'm sorry for being weak. My dream is to better the relationships between the main and branch houses of the Hyuga clan and abolish the use of the seal," said Hinata, stuttering all the while. Everyone turned to Naruto to hear his introduction, but instead of that he said, "Since all of us have finished eating, why don't we move this somewhere else?" The Jonins nodded, thinking that he didn't want to risk anyone overhearing him during his introduction. They got up and Naruto paid for their food. After a few minutes, they were sitting at Training Ground 10. Once again, everyone turned to Naruto, waiting for him to begin. Naruto nodded. "Okay. My name is Naruto Namikaze, son of the Yondaime Hokage and holder of Kyuubi no Kitsune. Keep your questions for later, you two. I like fighting, my goddess, my friends, and killing people that deserve it. I hate perverts, child abusers, rapists, those who insult or harm my friends, and those that insult my goddess. Of the three last, doing the first means slow and painful death. Doing one of the other two means that I'll deliver one, only one, warning against doing it again, and after that same as the other. I also dislike the villagers and shinobi who attacked me when I was young, as well as all the Uchihas except two that I actually like. I'm excellent in kenjutsu and taijutsu, but I don't have chakra of my own, so ninjutsu and genjutsu are out of my reach. If I use Kyuubi's chakra I could use them, but I promised myself some years ago that I would never use it unless there are a lot of books to be read, in which case I use it to create caged bunchins. My dream, maybe I'll tell you some other time, but not now. Now you can ask questions." The first one to speak was Shino. "Namikaze-san, what do you mean you have the Kyuubi sealed in you? We have been taught that the Kyuubi was killed by Yondaime-sama 15 years ago." Naruto shook his head. "First of all, call me Naruto, Shino. I'm not one for formalities. As for what you have been taught, they lied to you. I was born the day of the Kyuubi attack, and my father sealed it inside me. You didn't know because the Sandaime had passed a law forbidding everyone to tell the truth to the children. The first version of the law was actually meant to stop the council members, the only ones who knew the truth, from telling anyone else. It was meant to protect me so that I could have a normal childhood. Needless to say, it failed." Shino thought this over for a while, before deciding that it sounded logical and nodding in acceptance. Kurenai asked next, "Naruto, this goddess you spoke of, is she the same person you talked about yesterday?" Naruto nodded in affirmative, but didn't say anything else. "Kurenai-sensei, why does Shino-kun and I have 5 senseis? I thought that the teams were supposed to consist of 3 genin and 1 jonin," asked Hinata, stuttering again. "This is a special case, Hinata. First of all, Naruto is, technically, a genin. However, since his skills are far above even a Kage's, it was decided that this team will be created so that he could go on high-ranked missions without you two getting into danger. Between him and the 4 of us, you should be safe," answered Kurenai. Shino went bug-eyed at hearing this, pun very much intended. Excuse me, Kurenai-sensei. You said genin with greater skill than a Kage? How is that possible?" Anko decided to butt in and answer. "He is a genin because he wanted to. He said that taking a higher rank wouldn't make him popular with your generation. As for how he is so skilled and powerful in so young an age, well, I suppose that's for him to know and us to find out. Isn't it?" she asked Naruto the last part, who just chuckled and nodded in affirmative. "Now, usually there would be a test for you to pass before actually becoming genin, but the Hokage has decided that since this is a special case there will be no need for it. So I guess from now on we are T," said Yugo, only to be interrupted by Naruto. "While there may be no test, there are some things that must be said before. Some things that should have been said to all students of the academy since the moment they started it." "And what are those things?" asked a curious Shino, while the 4 women were exchanging nervous glances. They knew where this was headed, and judging from Naruto's expression, there would be no sugarcoating or gentle words. Still, he was right. This was something that they should hear now, if they were to follow them in high-rank missions. "You want to know what, Aburame Shino?" said Naruto, his voice oddly sarcastic. "Let me answer you with a question of my own. What do the two of you think that a shinobi is?" Both of them opened their mouths to speak, but Naruto beat them to it. "Don't bother to answer. Let me tell you, whatever you believe that it is, you are wrong. A shinobi is not some kind of hero, as you have no doubt heard. A shinobi can be a protector, if his job entails it, but there is no telling if the person you should protect is a good person or not. You may be asked to protect a traitor or a slaver. A shinobi will often be ordered to assassinate someone, without knowing if he deserves to die or not. And he shouldn't care. He can be ordered to steal something or abduct someone. He has to do as told. Do you know what all these mean?" The two shook their head, not knowing what to say after all they've heard. Unfortunately for them, Naruto was not over. They mean that a shinobi is nothing more than a glorified murderer. Not matter the type of mission a shinobi will be ordered to carry out, he will surely have to kill in order to accomplish it. If he doesn't, either he or his teammates will die. This is a shinobi's true nature. The four Jonin watched as Naruto was demolishing any misconceptions the two children had about the world they were about to enter. They watched as the two panicked and, in Hinata's case, came to tears as they realized what they would truly be asked to do. Even Enko couldn't help taking pity on them. And it seemed that neither could Naruto, for when he talked again his voice, while not gentle, was not harsh either, and his words were encouraging. "Calm down you two. While this is indeed a shinobi's nature, a shinobi's fate, in Konoha things are somewhat better. While you can't avoid killing, in Konoha shinobi are usually on the morally correct side, although this started to happen only relatively recently. Still, do you know why all Konoha shinobi keep doing their jobs, even if it means they have to kill?" The two genin shook their heads negatively. Naruto whispered something to the Jonin, who nodded. Then he turned back towards the other two. "Well, then, let me show you." With that, he grabbed them from their shoulders and the next moment they vanished, the Jonin following suit a second later. They reappeared on top of the Yondaimi's head. "Look at Konoha," said Naruto, pointing. Everyone, Genin and Jonin did so, and their breath stopped for a second. It was indeed a great view. Seeing Konoha, from this height, with the sun setting behind it, was a beautiful sight, yet an oddly fragile-looking one. This is the reason they fight and kill, even if they don't like it. To protect Konoha. To protect the people precious to them. For as long the elemental nations are trapped in this cycle of death and violence, they will always need protecting. Only one man tried to stop this cycle. A man born and raised in an era of war. It was this man who ended the war, killing more people than anyone else. For the sake of his home and loved ones, he drenched his hands in blood. For their sake, he tried to stop this, to change the shinobi's nature. It looked like he would succeed. If only he hadn't died so young. "Who is this man, Naruto-san?" asked a shy Hinata. "I told you it's Naruto. As for who this man was, we are standing on top of him. He was Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, the youngest and strongest Kage that ever lived, and one of the greatest heroes this planet has ever known," answered Naruto. He paused for a second and then continued. "This is what you must think about if you want to become shinobi. Are you prepared to kill to protect those that you love and accomplish your dreams?" "Also, Hinata?" "Yes," she answered timidly. Naruto shook his head at this. "Hinata, you also have something else to think. Right now, you can't be a shinobi. You are way too gentle and timid for that. I'm not asking you to change alone though. No, I'm asking you if you are willing to change. If you are, I'm sure Kurenai, Yugo, Hana and Anko will be willing to help you. Think this over carefully. Both of you have until tomorrow noon to think this over. Come and find us at Training Ground 10 then, and tell us what you decided." He turned to the Jonin. "Can two of you take them to their homes and then come back here? There are some things I want to talk about with you four." Kurenai and Hana nodded. Kurenai taking Hinata and Hana taking Shino, shining them to their homes. They returned a couple of minutes later, to find Naruto standing to the edge of the head, looking over Konoha and Anko and Yugo whispering amongst themselves. Naruto spoke to them without turning to look at them. "First of all, there are some things we have to make clear. Despite the way I acted today, it will not be me who will be the leader of this team. I have experience, yes, but my experience is in straight fights. I have no experience in stealth or shinobi missions generally. Personally, I think that the leader should be Yugo. She was an Anbu after all. Everyone was shocked. How the hell do you know this? Asked Yugo. I saw you in the council's chamber when I first arrived. I can read one's body and stance perfectly. This is part of the reason I'm such a good swordsman. Masks are of no use with me. And, Yugo, I have to say I'm sorry. Replied Naruto. What for? Asked a confused Yugo. For destroying your dream like that. I have done it many times before, but it never gets any easier. Answered Naruto. Yugo waved his concern off. Don't worry about it. It's something every swordsman or swordswoman must be prepared for. Naruto nodded in acceptance, thankful for her words, before turning to Anko. Anko, when I said before that masks are useless to me, I meant it both literally and figuratively. Judging from your introduction, it must have something to do with Orochimaru. Add to that how the village treated me when I was young, and it's not difficult to understand what happened. If you ever feel the need to talk to someone who has gone more or less through the same thing, come and find me. I would like to see how the real you are. He turned back towards the village, and nobody spoke. Soon, wind started to blow. The four women watched as his trench coat and his hair started to move with the wind. Like this, and with the setting sun in front of him, for some reason he made them think that he was some sort of angel, ready to unfurl his wings and take flight. After a while, Kurenai spoke. Naruto, can I ask you something? Ask away. How do you know so many things about the history of the Yondaime's life and the history of Konoha? You have only been here for a day. I told you before that I use cage bunshin when there are many books that I want to read, didn't I? Are you really surprised that my father's house has journals with details about his life in it? He also had many books about the history of Konoha and information about the various clans, though not clan secrets, of course. They stayed silent again, but soon the four women decided that it was time to leave. But before that, Hana spoke to Naruto. Naruto, my mother asked me to invite you for dinner to our house if you want to come. The other three lifted an eyebrow at this. I'm sorry Hana, but some other time. I would like to spend some alone time with my father, if you don't mind, answered Naruto. She nodded, understanding that, and the four women left, deciding to walk down, instead of shining. On their way down, they found, to their surprise, the Hokage, looking up at Naruto. They stopped by his side and looked up too. They saw that Naruto was having a serene smile on his face, his eyes closed, as if enjoying the wind. The Hokage sighed, before speaking. This is unnerving. His appearance and DNA might have changed, but his behavior is so much like his father's that it's scary. I often saw Minato like this, simply standing on a high place, enjoying the wind. I once asked him how he came up with Hiraishin, and he simply said that he created it because he couldn't make a seal that would allow him to fly. The four women weren't sure if he was speaking to them or to himself, so they remained silent. The Hokage turned to them. Walk with me for a while. They nodded. As they were descending, he was talking to them. Seeing this, I'm sure he would have an air affinity if he could use chakra. It's a pity that he can't. I would really like to see Minato's jutsus used again. His wind jutsus were magnificent. They were deadly, and yet elegant and beautiful. There was not a single Suna shinobi that was not jealous of him. It was as if the wind itself was obeying his every whim. You know, every time I saw him like Naruto is no, I couldn't help but believe that the wind was talking to him and wonder what it was telling him. And now I find myself wondering the same thing. And when I though it in conjunction with his wind affinity, I always thought that he was about to grow wings and take off. The four women looked at him surprised. It was the same thing that they thought was going to happen. The Hokage ignored it and kept talking. Minato was a sad man. He was a man that longed to be free like the wind, yet he was chained to the ground. What made him even sadder however, and what nobody but me, Jiraiya and Kushina knew, was that he only could find this freedom when fighting. That expressionless face he had when fighting was nothing but a front he created, so that he wouldn't laugh in enjoyment, so that he would not risk losing himself. I believe Naruto is the same, that's why I'm telling you. The only difference is that I think that Naruto actually seeks this enjoyment, he doesn't run from it. Keep this in mind. As they reached the ground, Sarutobi stopped and looked up at Naruto again. Minato was a man that preferred to live in sadness if that was what it took to bring an end to the violence of the shinobi way. This was his dream. But Naruto, I don't know. With these words he left them. The four Jonin all had the same thought and Anko was the one that expressed it. Damn, all this are too much for one day. I need a drink. The other three nodded and all of them went towards a bar. A few hours later, the four were returning home, more than a little drank. Anko looked towards the faces of the past Hokages and she froze. What the fuck? The other three looked at her wondering what happened. She simply pointed, and when the two turned to see, they froze as well. On top of the Yondaime's face, Naruto could still be seen, the night of the full moon illuminating him. However, there was something different about him, something that shouldn't be possible. Anko turned towards her friends. I think that we have drunk so much that we are seeing things. We should go to the closer house and sleep, she said slowly. The other three nodded and all of them went to Kurenai's house so they could sleep. Naruto watched as the sun was almost in the middle of the sky. It's almost time, he said to himself. He looked down, at the head of the Yondaime. I'm sorry father, but your dream is not mine. And he jumped off.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.